If your house is older than 1986 and your water runs a little brown first thing in the morning, don't just let it clear and forget about it. That color is your own pipes rotting from the inside out. And in millions of older homes, those pipes are leaching something a lot worse than rust into the water your family drinks every single day: lead. Here's the part that should make you angry. Your city swears the water is safe, but they test it at the treatment plant, miles from your kitchen. Nobody tests the glass that's been sitting all night in a pipe that might be made of lead. They test the plant, not your tap. Today I'm going to show you how to find out what they won't tell you in 2 minutes with a coin and a magnet you already own. Part 1, I'll test the pipe. Part 2, I'll show you the fix, free to $30. The CDC says there is no safe amount of lead in a child's body, none. And later, I'm going to show you the cruelest part. The one time your water is most dangerous is right after the city says they fixed it. My name is Earl. I've owned this house 43 years, and I tested my own pipes with this same trick a decade back. What I found changed what I do every morning before the coffee pot fills. Let's test yours. Part 1, find the pipe. Go down to your basement or your crawl space, wherever the water enters your house. Find the pipe right where it meets your water meter or your main shutoff valve. That's the service line from the street. If it's lead, everything your family drinks passes through it first. Grab a coin, quarter, penny, doesn't matter. And grab a magnet off the refrigerator. I pulled one off a pizza coupon that's been on mine since 2019. Still works. Step 1, scratch the pipe with the edge of the coin, not hard. Lead is soft, softer than a penny. Drag the coin across a small spot, maybe an inch. If the scratch turns bright, shiny silver, like fresh aluminum foil, hold that magnet to the pipe. If the magnet slides right off, won't grab, that is lead. Lead is not magnetic, and it scratches to a bright silver shine every time. The pipe will look dull gray on the outside, but that bright scratch under the dull skin is unmistakable. If that's what you just found, don't go anywhere. The fix is cheaper than you think. If you're getting something out of this, reach down and tap subscribe. It's free, and I've got a lot more of this kind of thing coming. Now, if the magnet sticks, it clicks right onto the pipe and holds. That's galvanized steel, iron underneath, coated in zinc. It rusts. That's your brown morning water right there. Galvanized is not lead, but I need to tell you something about galvanized that most people don't know, and I will. If the scratch shows a penny color, that warm, copper tone, you've got copper pipe. Copper is safe. And if the pipe is plastic, PEX, or PVC, you can tell by looking. You're fine. That's the whole test. A coin, a magnet, 90 seconds in the basement. A plumber charges $75 to $150 just to walk through your front door and say hello. You just did what he'd do for free with things that were already in your kitchen drawer. Now let me tell you what you're actually dealing with, because the word lead scares people, and it should, but not in the vague way most folks carry it around. Lead is a neurotoxin. That means it attacks the brain and the nervous system directly. In adults, lead exposure causes high blood pressure, kidney damage, memory problems, joint pain. Bad enough. In children, and this is the part, lead damages the developing brain in ways that do not heal. It lowers IQ. It causes learning disabilities, behavioral problems, hearing loss. The American Academy of Pediatrics and the CDC both say the same thing. There is no safe level of lead in a child's blood. Not a small safe level, not a threshold below which it does no harm, 0, and the damage is permanent. Lead doesn't wash out of a child's brain. There's no safe amount, none. The EPA set the action level for lead in drinking water at 15 parts per billion. That's not a safety standard, that's a treatment trigger, a number that tells the utility they have to start doing something about their system. The actual safe number, according to the science, is 0, and the water in your glass, the one that sat in a lead pipe all night while you slept, can test at hundreds of parts per billion by morning. Nobody measures that glass. They test the plant, not your tap. Part 2, the fix. And this is the part that should have been printed on the front of every water bill in America for the last 30 years. Step 1, every single morning before you fill the coffee pot, before you fill a glass for your kid, before you boil water for anything, run the cold water tap for 30 seconds to 2 minutes. 30 seconds if your house has short runs of pipe, 2 minutes if the service line from the street is long. What you're doing is flushing out the water that's been sitting in the pipe all night, the water that soaked up lead while your family slept. Let it run until it feels cold and looks clear, then fill your pot. Free. every morning. Takes less time than it takes to find your phone. Step 2. Get a pitcher filter rated NASFANSI 53 for lead removal. Not NSF 42. That's for taste and chlorine. It won't touch lead. 53 is the lead standard. A Brita with the Elite filter runs about $30 at any grocery store and removes 99% of lead. Replacement filters cost about $7 every 2 months. That works out to roughly 4 cents a glass. Write that down because I'm about to compare it to something. Step 3, and this one surprises people, never use the hot water tap for drinking or cooking. Not for coffee, not for soup, not for baby formula, not for anything that goes in a mouth. Hot water dissolves lead faster than cold. It's simple chemistry. Heat speeds up the reaction between the water and the metal. And the hot water heater itself is a tank where water sits for hours, leaching whatever the pipes and fittings are made of. Always draw from the cold side, always. Flush, filter, cold tap only, that's the whole method. The flush is free, the filter is $30. And the cold tap rule costs you the 5 seconds it takes to turn the other handle. Run it cold, flush it first, filter what you drink. That's it. Now let me tell you who's been getting comfortable while you didn't know this, because this is the part that burns a little. Start with the city. Your utility is required by the EPA's lead and copper rule, first written in 1991, to test for lead in the system. But the rule lets them test at the treatment plant and at a handful of sample homes around the district. They pick the homes, they schedule the tests. They are not required to test the water coming out of your tap in your kitchen at 6 in the morning after it's been sitting in your pipe all night. That's the glass your kid drinks. That's the glass nobody tests. And the numbers they report to the public are system-wide averages that smooth out the spikes in the worst homes on the worst mornings. It's like averaging the temperature of a hospital in a house fire and calling the neighborhood comfortable. Here's how well the government tracks this. Until November of last year, the EPA said there were 9.2 million lead service lines in this country. Then they revised it, said it's actually closer to 4 million. The Natural Resources Defense Council looked at that new number and said be skeptical because a lot of cities simply haven't checked. The government cut its own estimate in half overnight, and nobody can say for certain which number is right. But your pipe is still down there. Your pipe doesn't change because somebody in Washington updated a spreadsheet. Now bottled water. The moment people hear the word lead, half of them drive straight to the store and start hauling home cases. A family of 4 buying bottled water spends somewhere around $1,000 a year. $1,500 if it's the single-serve bottles from the gas station. That's real money every year, year after year. And a $30 pitcher filter certified to NSF 53 removes 99% of lead at the tap. You could filter your tap water for 3 years for what 1 year of bottled water costs. The bottle is a panic tax. Nobody selling it has any reason to mention the $30 pitcher sitting 1 aisle over. And then there's the plumber's favorite conversation. A good, honest plumber will tell you to flush and filter and get on with your life. A plumber on the upsell will sit at your kitchen table and quote you a whole house filtration system. $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 installed. For the same water, a $30 pitcher handles at the point of use. The whole house system is a real product. It works. If you've got the money, it's a fine thing to own. But the family that can't swing $4,000 can swing $30. And the $30 filter protects the only water that actually matters. The water you pour into a glass and drink. The expensive answer is not wrong. It's just not the only answer. And nobody selling it wants to whisper the cheap one. Here's why soap strips grease off your dishes and a coin scratches lead. Same basic idea, actually. Lead is one of the softest common metals on Earth. It bends in your hands. It scratches with a fingernail if you press hard enough. That softness is why it was the plumber's favorite for 2,000 years. You could shape it around corners with your bare hands. Solder it with a low flame, and it's sealed watertight without much effort. But that same softness means water eats it. Slowly, molecule by molecule, the water dissolves the surface of the lead pipe and carries it into your glass. Hot water does it faster. Acidic water does it faster. Water that's been sitting still all night does it most of all because there's no flow to carry the dissolved lead away. It just builds up in that standing column until you turn the tap in the morning and drink it. The morning flush clears that column. The filter catches what the flush misses. Simple as that. Now, a few more things you should know, because the coin test answers the biggest question, but not every question. First trick, this one catches people off guard. I said a magnet sticking means galvanized steel, not lead. That's true. But galvanized steel has its own lead problem that nobody talks about. The zinc coating on old galvanized pipe, anything installed before the 1970s especially, often contained lead in the zinc itself. Researchers at Virginia Tech found concentrations up to 2% lead in the original zinc coating, depending on the manufacturer. And as that zinc corrodes over decades, it leaches lead right into your water. On top of that, if a galvanized pipe sits downstream of a lead service line, the inside of that galvanized pipe traps lead particles that build up in the rust and scale layer over years. So the magnet sticks, you think you're clear, and the pipe is still feeding you lead through the back door. If your galvanized pipes are old enough to give you brown water in the morning, get the water tested. Not the pipe, the water. A certified lab test runs $20 to $50, and a lot of local water authorities will send you a test kit for free. Second trick, check the aerator on your kitchen faucet. That's the little screen screwed onto the tip of the spout. Lead particles and sediment collect there like lint in a dryer vent. Unscrew it every few months, tap it out over the sink, and look at what falls out. If you see dark grit or chalky white buildup, your pipes are telling you something. That little screen is a free early warning system that's been sitting on the end of your faucet the whole time, and most people have never unscrewed it once. Third trick, and this one's free, which is my favorite price for anything. If you've got small children or someone pregnant in the house, don't stop at the flush and filter. Call your local water authority and ask for a free lead test kit. Many of them will mail you one at no charge. You fill a sample bottle from your kitchen tap. First draw in the morning, before you flush, that's the worst case sample, and mail it back. They test it and send you a number. If it's above 15 parts per billion, they're required to act. If it's above 0, you flush and filter and sleep a little better. The test takes 10 minutes of your time and a stamp. Now, people ask me why I keep going back to the old ways on this channel, and this is the best example I've got. Lead pipe is not some relic we dug out of a ruin. The Romans ran their entire water supply through it. They called the metal plumbum, that's where the word plumbing comes from, and the chemical symbol Pb. Their aqueducts were engineering marvels that moved water across miles of countryside, and they piped it the last stretch into homes and fountains through lead. A Roman engineer named Vitruvius, this is around 15 BC, wrote that workers who handled lead were pale and sickly and recommended clay pipes instead. 15 years before the birth of Christ, a man figured out lead was poison by watching people get sick around it. We've known for 2,000 years. And in 1986, that's 1,986 years after Vitruvius said stop, the United States Congress finally banned new lead pipes in drinking water. That's not a slow learner. That's a student who skipped the exam on purpose. And for 28 more years after the ban, until 2014, American fittings sold as lead-free were legally allowed to contain up to 8% lead. 8%, and they printed lead-free on the box. I've made some mistakes in my life, but I've never called something free of the thing it's 8% full of. So if your house was built before 1986, the service line from the street could be solid lead. If it was built or remodeled before 2014, the brass fittings behind the walls could still contain it. This is not ancient history. These are houses people are buying right now, moving their kids into right now, filling a glass of water right now. Here's what this trick won't do, because I'm not going to be the man who told you everything was handled when it wasn't. The coin test tells you what the service line is made of. It does not tell you what's behind the walls. The plumbing inside an older house, the joints, the solder, the brass fittings, can contain lead even if the service line coming in is copper. That 1986 to 2014 window I mentioned, where lead-free still meant 8%, covers a lot of houses that look modern. The test I showed you is the most important first step because the service line carries all the water and sits closest to the source. But it's not the whole picture. If your morning water test comes back high even after you've been flushing faithfully, the lead may be coming from inside the house. And at that point, call a plumber. A real one, not the one selling you a $4,000 system before he's even run a test. The flush handles lead that builds up while water sits. It does not handle a pipe that's corroding so fast the lead never stops. If your water comes out discolored after a full 2-minute flush, something bigger is happening and you need a professional looking at it. And the filter protects the water you drink and cook with at one tap. It does not protect the water you bathe in. But the risk from bathing is much lower. Lead enters the body through the gut, not through unbroken skin. Drinking and cooking is where the real exposure happens. Now here's a case where you leave it alone. If your old copper pipes have turned green on the outside, that green patina is not a problem. It's a protective layer, copper oxide, that actually keeps the pipe from corroding further. Don't sand it off. Don't polish it. Don't scrub it with steel wool because it looks ugly. That green crust is your pipe's immune system, and it's been building for decades. Same principle applies inside lead service lines in cities that use corrosion control. The utility adds orthophosphate to the water, which builds a thin mineral coating on the inside of the lead pipe and keeps the lead from dissolving. It works, as long as nobody shakes it loose. Which brings me to the thing I promised you at the top of this video. My neighbor Ruth's nephew Carl bought an old house 2 streets over, 1948 bungalow, beautiful bones, all original plumbing. The city replaced the water main on his block last spring. Standard work, nothing unusual. 2 weeks later, his morning water started coming out yellow. He called the city. They said it would clear up. It did not. He paid $45 for a lab test. Lead came back at 68 parts per billion, more than 4 times the EPA action level. His 2 kids, ages 4 and 7, had been drinking that water for a week and a half before he thought to check. Here's what happened. When the crew did the work on the main, the vibration and pressure changes cracked the protective mineral coating inside Carl's old service line, the one that had been keeping the lead locked in place for decades. Pieces of that coating broke off, and lead flooded into his water. He flushes every morning now. He filters. The kids are fine, as far as anyone can tell. But I want to say something here, because I know a lot of you watching this are going to go downstairs, scratch a pipe, and find out you've been drinking through lead for years, and you're going to feel sick about it, and you're going to feel angry at yourself for not knowing. Don't. You didn't know because nobody told you. Not your landlord, not your city, not the home inspector who walked right past that pipe the day you signed the papers. The only thing you can control is what you do starting now. Flush, filter, and if you got little ones, get the water tested so you know your number. That's all anyone can do. Carl didn't know either. Nobody knocked on his door to warn him. Nobody handed him a filter. Nobody said a word. And here's the cruelest part, the thing I told you I'd get to. The EPA's own Science Advisory Board reviewed this in 2011 and found that partial lead service line replacements, where the city replaces their half of the pipe in the street, but leaves the homeowner's half in the yard, cause lead spikes that can last not days but months, up to 18 months of elevated lead. In one documented case, lead spiked to 25,000 micrograms per liter at a kitchen tap immediately after a partial replacement. The federal action level is 15. That spike was more than 1,600 times the trigger. And for years, in cities across this country, partial replacements were standard practice. The most dangerous glass of water you will ever pour is often right after they say they fixed it, and nobody knocks on your door to tell you. They test the plant, not your tap. There's no commercial for the coin in your pocket. There's no ad budget for running the cold tap 30 seconds in the morning. The things that actually protect your family don't make anybody a dime. Here's the whole job one more time. Go down to the basement. Find the pipe where water comes into the house. Right by the meter or the shutoff. Scratch it with a coin, hold a magnet to it. Bright silver and the magnet won't stick, that's lead. Magnet sticks, galvanized, get the water tested. Penny color, copper, you're good. Plastic, you're fine. If it's lead or old galvanized, flush the cold tap 30 seconds to 2 minutes every morning before the first glass. Get a pitcher filter rated NSF 53 for lead, about $30. Never drink or cook from the hot tap. And if the city does any work on the main in your street, flush and filter for at least a month after, no matter what anybody tells you. They test the plant, not your tap. Go check this weekend. It's 2 minutes, and it might be the most important thing you do all year. Then come back and tell me 2 things. Tell me what you found down there, lead, galvanized, copper, or plastic, and tell me how old your house is. Because I read every single one of these, and I have a feeling a whole lot of you are about to find something in that basement you didn't know was there. And if this was the first time somebody told you to look, well, that is exactly why I keep showing up.